Yo, what's good? What's good? We back. Triple P, Paul Pickett Podcast. I am your host, Paul Pickett, aka the Common Sense Podcast, your source for music, sports, politics, sport events, and more. Today, I'm going to react to a video Dr. Phil had called "Appropriation Nation Has It Gone Too Far." I'm actually going to debunk it. I'm going to use hip hop culture as an example. And before we do that, I'm going to give you a word from one of our sponsors.
All new Dr. Phil.
Oops, oops, my bad. That's the wrong video. Here we go.
Ain't no joke, got me addicted, ain't no coke. Let's just have a toast. Anybody want some smoke? Cause it's up, I be dizzled up. Catch me sipping with my double cup. Can't just have one, you gotta double up. You pour it, gotta watch it bubble up. I ain't gon' lie, I cannot get enough. When Callie said I need another one, gon' have you coming back for more. But go get a lot of stuff. Be sold out of your store. That dizzle.
That is right. Do you dizzle? Yes, I dizzle. Check out dizzlebrand.com. Dizzle Premium Luxury Liqueur, a mixture of agave tequila, French cognac, and orange liquor mango mix. Just throw your dizzle on ice, and it's nice. You want to order your very own bottle of bottles, go to dizzlebrand.com, click on all locations. Must be 21 and over. Shipping and handling is included. Very three top links to online order links. I recommend Emilio's Beverage. It's the cheaper link. And below that is actual locations that you can get Dizzle in California, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Arkansas. Okay, so we're going to try to react to this video here.
Today on an all new Dr. Phil. Cultural appropriation.
I got called all sorts of names for wearing the dress.
You actually got death threats. You were called out for appropriating an anime character.
I was told that I was black and not Japanese.
I think imitation is a form of flattery.
If somebody wears their hair like you're wearing it, you put that on the same level as racism.
Same level as white supremacy.
I want you to take a look at these pictures for me. Anything jump out at you?
Yes. They're in costumes.
Right. They're in costumes. These are all celebrities who have been called out, criticized, and condemned for cultural appropriation. Has anyone here ever called someone out for cultural appropriation? You too? You have? You have? Has anybody here ever thought twice about wearing something, doing something, even cooking something out of fear of being accused of appropriation? You have?
Yes.
Yeah, what was it?
My daughter had braids and she wanted me to get braids that were just like hers.
Why her but not you?
She's half black and half white.
Okay.
And so I just think that some things should stick with those cultures.
Really? Okay, then why you that is so hypocritical and a double standard for this lady to say that when her kid is half black. Then you should stick with just white people according to what you just said. And this guy in the front of her, he's smirking and like, yeah, some people should stick with their cultures, but let's go.
So I just think that some things should stick with those cultures.
Well, no matter whether you believe it's harmful or you think people should just be allowed to do what they want, there is no doubt this is a hot button topic that people are passionate about. Dr. Neil Lester, a professor of English at Arizona State University, right?
I am, yes.
And you've published, lectured, and taught extensively the area of African American studies. What do you think about appropriation? Do you think this is a real thing, something that people need to be cognizant of? And if so, why?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, because if we in fact are trying to look at the humanity of other people, and we are trying to live in a place where we are trying to be respectful and mindful of folks, then we need to be aware of things that are important to other cultures that don't necessarily look like us or share the same values. So it is a thing, and people need to be aware of.
Can anybody appropriate?
Anybody can appropriate, yes.
Not just white people.
Absolutely. Appropriation is intersectional. So old people can appropriate youth culture can appropriate old folks. People who are not incarcerated can impersonate, prisoners or those who are incarcerated. Men appropriate women's attire for the sake of funny and mocking. So absolutely anybody can do it, and everybody on some level may have flirted with it.
I'm putting the brakes for a second because something made me think about what he said. There was a time when most kids were sagging their pants, and then it went to skinny jeans. That came from the white rock culture, but you didn't see the white rock culture sitting there saying they're appropriating our culture. No, because it's only a one side. It's a one-sided coin with this appropriation thing. Like, any kind of cultures that are based upon Europeans or white settlers, they're not sit there. Nobody's getting upset when those cultures are being so-called appropriated. But let's keep going.
Okay, but a lot of the time that people that I've seen are called out for this, it's not that they were making fun or mocking in some way.
Yeah.
It was just that they had adopted a fashion or a style or whatever.
I would say that's a performance. So if somebody's culture and somebody's identity becomes a performance, then it's reductive.
Okay, let me debunk that. Why? So everybody's just performing when they just wear certain clothes. Once again, it touches on what I just said. I remember when Crisscross came out and every single kid in junior high started sagging their pants. And that was also a culture that was a prison culture, sagging your pants. But nobody was like, you appropriated prison culture. It was just something that just a wave set on the kids, and it was a trend. That's the thing. Fashion's a trend. It has nothing to do with performance. It's just people want to keep. Some people want to keep up with the trends, or they think it's cool to do this, to keep up with this trend or that trend. Like they're just taking this way too far. Because I remember when kids first started sagging pants, and white and black, everybody tried to do the crisscross. The boys all tried to wear the pants on backwards. It didn't work. It lasted a day. They just turned them back the other way and just kept sagging. And sagging went on for a while. And then skinny jeans came in. Skinny jeans, because they were all trying to act like rock stars and be rock stars, which was predominantly white dudes at the time. But nobody was like, oh, they're appropriating rock culture, because nobody cared. It was just the new trend and the new fashion. Let's keep going, though. Let's keep going.
So if you're reducing, for example, say the civil rights movement to an afro, and you wear that, or you wear dreadlock wigs, that Rastafarians may wear, you do that because it's edgy, because it's cool, but ultimately because it's not you. You're getting some kind of cultural capital from that by doing it.
And who's hurt by that?
Well, it's not about who's hurt by it, it's who's being disrespected by it.
Well, who's being disrespected by it?
A whole culture of people whose identities are wrapped in whatever you're dressing into and can then take off.
Amala, you don't agree?
I don't. No.
You think worrying about appropriation is a waste of time?
I think not only is it somewhat a waste of time, but it's nearly impossible. You just mentioned there are nearly hundreds of ways that one could appropriate somebody else's culture or their livelihood. And to expect any one human being to keep on top of that throughout their entire life, I think, is an unrealistic ask. And I think imitation is a form of flattery. I appreciate my food by eating it. I appreciate the hair that I wear by wearing it, by putting on the clothes that I wear. And every single item around us in this room could probably be attributed to a certain culture. Do we have to constantly worry about what culture we gain things from?
Does intention have anything to do with
Well, I
it?
guess I didn't hear anything about anybody worrying about it. What I hear about when I think about and talk about cultural appropriation is people becoming more aware of it. We could say the same thing about racism, sexism, homophobia. Just because you can't solve it and don't see it at every corner doesn't mean we shouldn't be aware of it and trying to address it.
Wow, do you
So,
really put those on the same level?
I absolutely do.
Racism and sexism, you put it on the
Absolutely.
same level as
Absolutely.
cultural appropriation?
That's exactly.
So if somebody wears their
I gotta put the brace. If anybody's the racist, it's this guy. He's the racist. He wakes up every morning with his microscope looking for racism in places that it's not, man.
hair like you're wearing it, you put that on the same level as racism.
Absolutely. I put that on the same
Wow.
level as white supremacy because white supremacy is intersectional.
I've heard all I need to hear from this guy. I agree with the chick that said it's really not. This is why I debunk it. Hip hop culture, for example. There's a lot of people that say cats like Eminem is a guest in hip hop, the house of hip hop. You can't be the most successful person in a culture and be a guest, first of all. And Eminem is clearly the most successful person in hip hop based off record sales impact on the culture. I would argue and say, give you two words: Rick Rubin, who was a white guy who produced all the early records for Run DMC, Beastie Boys, LL Cool J. That's another two words I would throw in there is Beastie Boys. How about Everlast, who was brought out by Ice-T? So was Everlast culture appropriating the culture when Ice-T decided to bring him out? When Russell Simmons, a black man, decided to sign the Beastie Boys, was the Beastie Boys appropriating the culture? Because if they were, then so was Russell Simmons, and then so was who I said signed the other artists before. Like, it's black dudes that put on these white artists, and they didn't put them on because they thought they were appropriating the culture. They put them on because they thought they had something to offer the culture. Me, for example, I promote hip hop for a living. I make hip hop music. I promote hip hop music. Some people would say I'm the best in hip hop. I'm appropriating the culture. No, I love the culture. I appreciate the culture. I'm infatuated with the culture. I used to listen to Def Leppard, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, all those rock and roll cats in the late 80s, early 90s. And then I heard Heavy D and the Boys. We got our own thing. I was swept up. I was instantly like, whoa, what is this? This is something new. This is something different. I never heard nothing like this before. Never ever heard nothing like this before. And then I think of okay, Nas and Wu-Tang just came to Raleigh, North Carolina and did a show. And a few of my friends went. And they told me one thing that stuck out to them was how many white people were at the show. So I guess they were all appropriating the culture. on if they didn't appropriate the culture, well, guess what would happen? This show would have flopped. This show would have flopped. This why this appropriation is yes, because hip hop would have never made it if there was not a shit ton of white fans in hip hop. If there's not a bunch of white kids and white people out there, I know plenty of white dudes like me that love hip hop. They love hip hop, man. They love everything about hip hop. I'm talking about like hip hop, like breaking, graffiti, DJing, seeing, b-boying, all those aspects that you don't really see in the culture nowadays. And that's the thing, the hip hop culture is changed. It has changed so much, but just based off of hip hop, this appropriation of the culture thing is so ridiculous. Because if it wasn't for white people loving hip hop as much as black people, and some people, there's some white people that love hip hop more than black people. If it wasn't for those people, hip hop would not be as successful as it is today. There's like, it's just like, okay, if you got a black owned restaurant in the hood, I could tell you right now that they're not doing as well as a business outside of the hood. Because first of all, not too many white people are driving to the hood to go to a restaurant, no matter how good it is. And I don't care what kind of black owned business you are, you need white consumer base as well. It's just like I haven't been to a white barber in forever. Why? Because I like a fade. Apparently, that would be appropriating the culture because I like to get a fade, a bald fade. But no, that's just how I like my hair. It's just how I think I look good with my hair. It's what makes me feel comfortable. Screw what anybody else says. I feel comfortable getting a bald fade, 2 to 3 on top. I always go to a black barber. Not because I want to appropriate the culture, because white barbers aren't good at cutting fades. They're not good at cutting my hair the way I want my hair cut, And there's always white dudes. There was a white dude in there before, in this chair before me when I went in the last time. Was he appropriating the culture? He was actually in there with his black friend. They were both getting haircuts. Well, guess what? If the white guy is appropriating the culture, then so was his black friend, because he's complicit of supporting and condoning it. But it's bullshit. It's horse shit. Because first of all, nobody owns a culture. I repeat, nobody owns a culture. You can create a culture. You can follow a culture, not follow a culture, like a culture, just like a culture. Nobody can copyright a culture. And if we're going to say that somebody owns a culture, it's the first person of that created that culture, the very first person. Because I can tell you, all cultures are created by one person. One person creates the culture and everybody follows. Crisscross came out with their pants backwards, sagging pants. That was 2 people, but it was one entity, one group. One group at the same time. And everybody followed. I'm telling you, it doesn't be, everybody decides we're all going to wear our pants backwards all at once. No, it's somebody who has influence over the culture does it, and it impacts the culture, and everybody starts following it within the culture. So, like, this appropriating a culture is really horseshit and bullshit. Nobody owns a culture. Cultures are created by individuals or a small group of individuals, like Crisscross or Public Enemy, when people started wearing the African chains, the African beads, and the African symbol chain around their necks. like that was a small group of individuals in hip hop that had an impact, and they impacted the whole culture. But everybody didn't decide to all do it at once. And that's the thing. Like cultures are nothing but trends. Trends. That's all it is. Trends are meant to be followed or not followed, liked or disliked. But nobody owns a trend. Nobody owns the culture. That's the problem. This guy is trying to take ownership over something that you don't own. And people only cry about appropriation when it's something dealing with black culture or Hispanic culture. If it's like Irish culture or English culture or Russian culture or Ukrainian or what's some other Europeans, Scottish culture, and but these people have you believe that white people don't have culture, Scottish people don't have culture, Irish people don't have culture, which is bullshit. Every country has a certain culture to it, certain kind of foods that they eat, certain way that they pretty much act and think and dress and all that. All these countries have cultures, and they all change. But even if the country doesn't own the culture, just because everybody is following it, culture could create it overnight. People could create a whole new culture, and everybody could follow it. Cultures are almost like cults. They're almost like cults, the way people follow them. People blindly follow certain cultures and stuff like that. But appropriation, it's like, yeah, this whole Eminem is a guest in hip hop argument. How is the most successful person in the culture a guest? That's impossible. That's impossible. And how can you be a guest of a culture that you helped create, that you helped uplift and prop up and market and promote? I could tell you a lot of those early records and early black artists, it was Italians, white Italian cats that were breaking their records for them. That was the people breaking their records. If it wasn't for these white Italian cats that people were paying to break the records, then it gave you two options. You either take money to break the record or we'll break a bone or something. I mean, yeah, that's of course payola. That's what people don't realize. That's what really, really took payola to the whole new heights in radio, is having to pay to break a lot of these black artists, because a lot of these white program directors and station program directors wasn't given no opportunity at the time, and they might have been racist, especially in the South or whatnot. But your cultural appropriation, it's much of nothing. Um, there's not one single black culture that is making a ton of money in business without having a bunch of white people get behind it. I would argue that BLM probably got more donations from white people than it did black people, because there was a ton of white people just like the blacks that were just fooled and bamboozled by BLM, which was a straight up scam, had nothing really to do about black people. It's more about transgenders, gays, identity politics, and more so women. Nothing to do with black men. BLM has nothing to do with black men whatsoever. But this this appropriation thing is really bogus. And hip hop's a prime example, because if it wasn't for a shit ton of white fans loving and embracing Wu-Tang and Nas like I do, then that show would have flopped, and every show in hip hop would flop. They wouldn't be able to pack in 20,000. That's the thing people gotta realize. Anything in the business world needs white fan base to support it and embrace it and love it to be super successful. which is the liquor I help promote, which is a black-owned business. I'm probably the only white face, you know, on Dizzle. And no, I'm not appropriating the culture. I am helping support a friend and mentor of mine who is 33% owner, and I believe in Dizzle 1,000%. And even they know, yes, Dizzle has a urban name. A Dizzle has that Snoop Dogg, you know, black name, Dizzle for Shizzle. But they know that we're going to need a ton of white fan base to get behind this as well. That's why we got Hispanics getting behind it as well. We're not just, Dizzle is not just a brand just for black people to drink. Even though I think a lot of people will, a lot of black people in the black community will automatically feel like Dizzle is their brand. You know what I'm saying? Because that name, Dizzle. But Dizzle is only called Dizzle because the guy who created it is Mike Dizzle. So if his name was something else at the end, that would have been probably the name of the liquor. If his name was Mike Rizzle, it would have probably been Rizzle probably, or something else. You know, it's just coincidence that they named the Dizzle after Mike Dizzle, which is I guess it's his barber name because he's a celebrity barber. It's just coincidence. But Dizzle, even though it's a black-owned business, is not just a liquor for the black community. And they know that. I know that. The creators of Dizzle didn't attend. Like the logo and the label, it's nothing hood or urban or black community about the logo. The logo says rich white folks all over it. It says rich white folks all over it. Are they appropriating the culture by using this to be honest with you, the label says rich British white folks all over it. Are they appropriating the culture by doing that? No, it's just they understand how business goes. They understand how consumers work in the white community, the black community, the Hispanic community, the Asian community. The way consumers buy in these communities change drastically, you know, and it has nothing to do with appropriating cultures and everything or anything of that nature. It's just marketing strategies. A wise black man told me that the white man doesn't buy from the black man, but the black man has always bought from the white man. And that goes to tell you what I was saying about black owned businesses do far better outside of the hood than inside of the hood because they don't get enough support within the black community as they would outside, because they'll still get black people to go to it in the white community, and white people will go to it in the white community, you know. And that's just the way of the world, man. Like a lot of white people aren't running to the hood to buy stuff from the, you know, like a restaurant, or they're not going to buy the groceries in the hood grocery store. You know, that's just how it is. But this appropriation nation hasn't gone too far. It's bogus. It's bogus because every business, you know, needs, like, every black owned business needs white consumer base to really be super successful. You know, I mean, like the chicken joints in the hood. I mean, nobody's going to them but hood people, so they're never really popping outside the hood. You know, and I know I lived in the worst neighborhoods in my city. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's coming to these spots to eat that are inside the hood, but people inside the hood. So they never get known outside the hood. They never really get popping. You know, hip hop. So as hip hop is an example, hip hop would not be where it's at today without a shit ton of white fans. And a lot of people, would you call them appropriating the culture? I don't think the artists that have a shit ton of white fans at their show would say that. I think they would say they appreciate a shit ton of white fans at the show, along with a shit ton of black fans or Hispanics and Asians, because you know that's how consumer businesses work, especially black businesses. Black-owned businesses need to target as much white consumer base as possible if you really want to be super successful. So you want people, if you're into, that's the thing, if your culture involves making money in the business world like hip hop, you want people to so-called appropriate the culture. You want them to. You want people outside of the culture to appropriate the culture because that means people outside of the culture are going to spend money inside of the culture. And that's the thing that this guy, he's a professor. And he's sitting there talking about performances. Like, okay, well, when you talk about performances, that's acting. That's a business. So you should be looking at it from the business scale at all times, from the consumer scale at all times when we talk about cultures. Because everybody's trying to make money off of these cultures. I don't care what it is. Wine culture has a culture, cigar culture. I mean, there's so many different cultures of things that you could think of. You could think of name one thing and it probably has a culture to it. All the genres, the music, the cultures change. Pop, hip hop, rock, reggae. And that's another thing. He says something about reggae. Everybody loves reggae, dude. Everybody loves reggae. Reggae is a universal sound. It's meant to be a universal sound. It's meant for people outside of the culture to appreciate it and appropriate it, as you call it. But what you call culture appropriation, I call appreciation. Just like that girl just said. These are people that just appreciate the culture. They embrace the culture. They love the culture. They follow the culture. They're interested in the culture. Those are all very positive words that I said. But this guy wants to look at everything from a racial lens. He gets up every morning, throws on his glasses, his racial glasses, and he's looking for racism everywhere. And that's a bad way to live. It's a very miserable way to live, to wake up every morning just searching out racism. Just hunting out racism and searching out racism. That's a very miserable way to live. All right, let's leave you with a word from one of our other sponsors.
Musician looking for music marketing and promotion? Then look no further than Promo Palace LLC, your one-stop shop for all music promotion services. Services include Spotify playlist pitching, YouTube video promotion, record pool promotion, blog placements, radio airplay promotion, SoundCloud promotion, and much more. With over 2,000 customers and over 10 years of experience in online promotion, Promo Palace LLC is a company you can trust. For more info, please go to promopalace.biz. See you there.
That's right. You heard a beautiful lady. Check us out, promopals.biz, one-stop shop. We also got a sale going on. Buy a t-shirt, get a free promo and whatnot. And I hope my debunk made you, not agree with this clown here. You know what I'm saying? Because I take that very personal, what he's saying, because I'm a cat that loves hip hop. I make hip hop music. I promote hip hop music. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for hip hop music. I've been in love with black women before. I'm very close to mainly my black friends. So this whole cultural appropriation thing is really bogus. It's really those people. That guy is really the racist. He's really the racist, not the people that appropriate the culture. He's calling that white supremacy, and you know, some people just love what they love and like what they like. And the white lady behind her talking about she can't get braids because Her daughter's half black and she's white. Lady, get braids. Your husband's black. You're according to your analogy, you're already appropriating the culture because you have an interracial relationship. That's the same thing. That is the same thing. There's people that think that's appropriating the culture when you have an interracial relationship. When the white person has a relationship with a black person, they're trying to appropriate the culture. That's not what I think. I think people like and love what they like and attracted to who they're attracted to. And this idea that America invented interracial relationships. No, people been attracted to opposite races probably since the beginning of time, man. I mean, white dudes been looking at black women, attracted to them physically since the beginning of time, and there's some black people that's been looking at white people, attracted to them since the beginning of time. It's not a new thing, man. It's been this. I guarantee interracial relationships have been around as long as homosexuality. I know it has. I know it has. Thanks for tuning in once again, Paul Pickett Podcast, and